I'm recording.
Hello, my name is Raymond Bly. I live on Route 1 in Jessup. Around 8 years ago, some people bought a junkyard called Fremont Junkyard and made Crazy Ray's Junkyard. Immediately, they started having dozens of truckloads a day going there of dirt. Immediately, they started doing landscaping, knocking down wooded areas, etc. No site development plan, nothing to repurpose the old junkyard. The dirt was going into floodplain. I did not complain in the beginning. Until a few months into their operation, when cars were parked on my private property, I called the police. The police told me that it was not my private property, that anybody could park there and there was nothing I could do about it. I called a friend of mine at a towing service. He says, it is your property and your neighbor's property. Put up my signs and have your neighbor sign a guard paper that you're the legal guard for their property, so all the trash from all these customers of Crazy Ray's, he wouldn't have to be picked up every Monday morning. I'm talking a trash truck every week from the weekend, from his customers, fenders, batteries, tires, etc., laying all up and down Route 1. And so we put up the towing signs and I started towing. Immediately Crazy Ray's would tell the customers I illegally towed and to come get their money back from me. They tried to kick down my front door. I called the police. I called Ken Ulman's office. Ken Ulman said that there was nothing they could do, but they would look into it. I said, well, why are Howard County Police working in there? In uniform, using Howard County equipment, police uniform, and cars to work private security. He immediately made them take off their uniform. The next day, the cop was beaten up. So he immediately allowed them to use complete police powers, uniforms, and stuff to work private guard duty. I kept having them towed. I kept being threatened by their people. I had the police come up here 3 times telling me I cannot tow these people. I'd be on the wrong side of the police. I reported this to Ken Altman's office. He didn't care. They called me in twice and interrogated me for hours, telling me I better stop towing, that was setback from Route 1. I'm sitting there, no, it is private property. My property and my neighbor's property. Well, they kept threatening me and threatening me. I stood up for myself. I started writing the chief of police, which Ken Ulman, I think, appointed as chief of police. He's retiring now because this should be a federal crime. I started getting ex-employees that were fired from Crazy Ray's telling me that they were fired because Crazy Ray's told them they had to dump the antifreeze, the oil, and the gasoline in the river going through their property so they wouldn't have to pay recycling prices, and they refused to go to jail for them. So they were fired. I started calling Maryland Department of Environment about that. They couldn't find anything. I started calling them about all the filling they were doing in the floodplains. They couldn't find anything. I called them about the dam they put up on Bradshaw property and the state produce property. They couldn't find the dam. This place works with millions of dollars a year in cash. They've been trying to run Fremont out of business. They fined Fremont every time they even put gravel in the roadways through the floodplain so they wouldn't sink down in the mud. So their forklifts and stuff could go through the roadways of their back junkyard. They bought properties next door to Fremont and started putting cars on them with no site development plan, no impact from people, etc. Finally, Bradshaw put up a fence. So they started parking on Route 1. They even parked half on the sidewalk across the street from the junkyard, all the way past me and Super 8, blocking all the entrances and exits to private properties. I called the police. They told me they wouldn't do anything. I demanded they did and called the state police, and the state police called the county and told them they better do something. So you know what Howard County Police did? They went in the junkyard and said, that boy up in that house up the street said, we're going to have to give you tickets for parking illegally, blocking the travel lanes of Route 1 if you don't move your car immediately, on the loudspeaker in Crazy Ray's junkyard. And then come up and threaten me again, the police. And they work for this company. Several police officers that did work this area for a very short couple of days that they did give out tickets to all the illegally parked vehicles were immediately transferred to the other side of the county and told to keep their mouths shut. Thank God they're retired now. But would you renew the license for the police department of Howard County? I wouldn't. I would take their police powers away if they're not going to uphold the law for the common citizen, instead of a big money maker for the police union, the police retirement funds, and the police officers that they're paying to work there. They have broken so many environmental laws. They were only licensed to do 10,000 tires. They had over 1 million catch fire because they didn't want to recycle the first few years anything, so they could bankroll a lot of money. They got all kind of special equipment like crushing machines for cars that other junkyards around here have tried to get for decades and refused to get licenses. All of a sudden, they were able to open many more junkyards on beautiful land to ruin it all over the state of Maryland and for Crazy Ray's junkyard. They got to be paying off somebody, and a lot of people have to have money coming in. And since they work on cash, it's going to be very hard to trace the money. But I'm sure they're paying off money. When I contacted the state produce authority, I said, you want to make a lot of money? Go down and tell them they got to get rid of that dam on your property. They said, they got a dam on our property? Causing washout of our hill? We'll take care of it. Well, they didn't take a bribe. They got rid of the dam. The earthen dam, so Crazy Ray's put up a car dam. Several layers thick of cars, several layers high of cars are crossed to dam the water up. They park their cars, their junkyard cars, on the side of the produce hill, causing washouts. They do it to Bradshaw property too, putting cars halfway up the hill. The car kills the grass, so there's washouts under the car, ruining Bradshaw Hill. Bradshaw won't do anything. Ken Ulman's been contacted many times about this, his office, which won't do anything. I've contacted the chief of police in writing several times. I've never been so astounded in my life to hear the chief of police tell me verbally and in writing if they didn't work for Crazy Ray's junkyard, they would have to be there over a dozen times a day. Why would you work for a company you'd have to be called to a dozen times a day? And they're still, even this past weekend, had illegally parked cars. The police sat there while they announced on the loudspeaker to please move your car, they'd be forced to give tickets, and out of a couple of dozen cars, they ended up having to give 5 tickets. Howard County Police could have made hundreds of thousands of dollars on the hundreds of thousands of cars that's been illegally parked on Route 1 in the last 8 years. So vote for Ken Ulman as Lieutenant Governor. He will really be great for Maryland with the corruption he's done with the police department here on Route 1. My name is Raymond J. Bly. I live at 8087 Washington Boulevard, Jessup. If you want to try to kick down my door, fine. I'm an old man, so be it.